So what is it about Gateway that makes it such a compelling investment proposition? Well, really, our number one thing is our Gidgee Gold Project, which is 800 k's northeast of Perth. We've got about 1,000 square kilometres of controlled tenure up there, which is a big chunk of the Gum Creek Greenstone Belt, which is what we like to call a bit of a neglected greenstone belt in WA's goldfields, right in the middle of them. Been historically a pretty prolific producer, but everyone seemed to have forgotten about it for about 20 or 30 years, and now it's being reinvigorated by ourselves and a couple of our neighbours, and there's a lot of exploration success to be had there. We're predominantly targeting shallow mineralisation up there, and we've got 3 main target areas, but really we're looking 0 to 200 metres from surface. We're not talking about big, deep systems yet, although there's definitely the potential for that, but we're still really looking for the low-hanging fruit around near surface. And that's been borne out by the discovery Paul mentioned that we made late last year on the northwest margin, which is a nice new high-grade discovery in a new geological setting up there, and it's really validating our approach that we've taken. We have got some initial resources, about 240,000 ounces of inferred resources, and that's really some remnants under 2 old open pits that were mined in the late 80s and early 90s. Those resources clearly have the potential to be expanded, and we're doing work on that as we speak. But there's really the big game up there is the whole gold system as we've started to unravel it. And we've got a clear pathway that we'll be able to show for growth of those resources and then beyond. We've got a strong balance sheet. We did a major capital raising last year, about $6.4 million in the bank at the end of the December quarter. We've got no debt. What this enables us to do is to really have a systematic approach to our exploration, and that really involves a lot of drilling. We completed about 30-odd thousand metres of drilling in the second half of 2020, and we're about to kick off about 35,000 metres of RC, diamond and air core drilling in the first half of this year. And that means, we're really getting into these prospects, but also it means sustained news flow, over the next 6 months and beyond. And the key to it all is we've got an experienced and successful management team, which has a strong track record of not just finding things, but also bringing them into development, into production, and really creating maximum value for shareholders. So quick corporate summary, Gateway as we stand at the moment, just under 2 billion shares on issue. The current sort of share price for about a $60 million market cap. As I mentioned, $6.4 million in the bank. Our major shareholder there, just over 12%. He's been accumulating over the Christmas period a bit more, which is always good, but Kerry Hermanus. And then you can see there, one of the keys to Gateway is the top 20 control about 40% of the register, and they're very, very loyal and very supportive of the strategy as we are taking the company forward. And you can see there, directors with 15% of the company, there's plenty of skin in the game there. And that board, as we have recently restructured it, is really led there by Peter Langworthy as executive chairman. And Peter's been key to the reboot of Gateway about 2.5 years ago, which was taking the company, really refocusing on the Gidgee project and seeing the potential there. We've been consolidating our tenure and sort of divesting of our non-core projects and moving forward on this one really, really prospective bit of ground, and we're having great results. And you can see the other directors there, Trent Franklin, while he's a geo qualified, he's strong background in finance. Debbie Fullerton, who's an accountant, also the CEO of Westgold, and then Scott Brown, who's got a strong business experience background. So what is it that we're chasing? Well, up at Gidgee, the main thing we're looking up there is the Montague granodiorite, which is only one small part of our tenure, but really from a geological point of view, it's a very, very good place to be. So we see a strong analogy there to a couple of other deposits in WA, which are pretty significant, mainly Red 5's King of the Hills deposit, and also the original Granny Smith deposit that's now controlled by Goldfields. But what we're really talking about here is a granodiorite intrusion into an active shear zone system, which has gold fluids going through it, and we get accumulation of those gold fluids on the margin of this intrusion. And really we see that, and we've recognised that at Gidgee on our grounds. There's about 5 little open pits that were mined in the late 80s and early 90s. These things are really just where this gold system has poked through to surface, and there was old historic workings there. But up until about 2 years ago, no one had really been seriously looking at what this does at depth and what it is from a whole system point of view, and trying to tie them all together, and that's really been what we're trying to do. And you can see there that we pull it away. A lot of the historic work, only about 10% of the drill holes have been effective in testing this bigger system point of view. So a lot of really shallow, ineffective drilling in the past, particularly a lot of RAB drilling, which we've now found to be not very useful at all. And that's enabled us to really, basically have a fresh view of this project and go for it. So we've got three main target areas, as I mentioned before, and the priority one really is this northwest margin. That covers the old Whistler, Montague open pits down to the northeast, Caledonian northeast pit. But really what that is that whole contact zone around between Whistler, Montague, northeast. It's all the same geology. It's all continuous the whole way through there, and a lot of the work we did last year showed that mineralisation is continuous through there, and that's the exciting bit. We've also got our second priority area, which is the Achilles area, and that's a big shear zone system that heads all the way south from that Rosie open pit down towards the edge of our tenure. There's about 4.5 k's of strike there. It's all very shallow mineralisation at the moment. We're chasing oxide zone mineralisation, which is very important from the project's point of view. And again, this is an area that really hasn't been explored in the past. And then we've got Kashmir over on the eastern margin. Never been explored before. That's historically a soil sampling anomaly that we picked up a couple of years ago. We put some RC holes in there and showed that there's high-grade mineralisation on that eastern margin. And that really opens up the whole other side of the dome that's never been looked at previously. So as I mentioned before, 2020 was a game changer for Gateway. Really been able to put away about $9 million in the second half of the year with the capital raising, enabled us to go and then really hit the ground running and drill this thing hard, which is what we haven't been able to do previously in the past. So we completed about 17,500 metres of RC, and that resulted in this new discovery on the northwest margin, which I'll go through in a minute. We were targeting there that continuation of mineralisation from Montague Boulder Pit all the way up north around towards Whistler. As I mentioned, we recognised the geology is the same. There was no reason why the mineralisation didn't keep going from that Montague Boulder Pit, and the work that we did showed that, yes, that is the case. We also did a bit of drilling around the Achilles North prospect, targeting that shallow oxide mineralisation, building on some work that Gateway had done about 12 months previously, and we did that initial drilling at Kashmir. Importantly, we also completed about 15,000 metres of air core drilling, and that was really testing that Achilles corridor south of the Rosie Pit. And this is important because what it is earlier stage exploration, but it enables us to maintain this pipeline of prospects so that we're always generating new targets and evaluating this whole area rather than just getting too concentrated on one area and letting everything else go by. So this new discovery at the northwest margin, which we're pretty excited about. So we're targeting this Montague style mineralisation north of the pit, which we were successful in doing so. You can see at the bottom there we hit really good mineralisation over a 1.6 k strike length north of the pit. But what was really exciting is a couple of the holes, hole 550 and hole 538, we pushed on a bit deeper, and they intersected a completely different rock type, which we had no idea existed up in this neck of the woods, and no previous work had hinted that it was there. But we had this ultramafic intrusion along the margin, and where these mineralised shear zones hit that ultramafic intrusive, we can see from those results we got really good, thick, high-grade mineralisation, and it's still shallow. We're still only talking about 100 metres below surface, but there, the highlight 10 metres at 9.2, 15 metres at 3 from 100 metres. We followed that up with another hole late in the program last year and got 7 metres at 11, same setting. And this is now, we've only put three holes into this thing over about 220 metres of strike, but it's completely open over that whole margin area. And we can now see in the geophysics when we go back and reprocess these images that ultramafic is there. We now just got to chase it up with drilling and keep going, which is what we're planning to do. We were also successful in targeting the Montague Loads, as I mentioned. So there we've now hit those lodes, which are a series of parallel shear zones in the basalt, all the way north of the Montague Boulder resource, up to about 1.6 k's north, and still getting 5-6 gram intersections over good widths up there, very shallow, 30-40 metres below surface. So this is really exciting for us to expand the potential resource all the way up along that margin. But at the moment, following up on that lower zone, that's the key for us. You can see there, zoomed in, what that looks like. Those three holes that intersected that mineralisation up on the margin, hitting this lower ultramafic unit at depth. And now we're going to go back and extend some holes, put some deeper holes in and really target this new unit, which we didn't know existed before. And in cross-section, we can see what it looks like. So very moderately dipping shear zones, mineralised. They carry on through the granodiorite. We can chase these things across to the Whistler deposit on the eastern side. We're now starting to recognise the importance of these shears, and it's helping us target these high-grade areas going forward. Another area that we were able to focus on last year was the Montague Boulder resource. Again, as we evolved our understanding of the geology up there, we went back to this resource area and started to recognise there were some high-grade trends up there, and put a fair bit of drilling into this resource to infill it, upgrade the confidence a bit in the estimated area, but also to chase these high-grade plunging shoots within the shear zone. And we can see there that we were successful in doing that. We hit these high grades where we thought they'd be. We also managed to open up the resource south of the pit, which is exciting for the work we're about to commence this year. You can see there hole 609 and hole 612. We hit the same style of mineralisation south of the existing resource area, up to 200 metres south. So that's still open off the south end. So these are coherent high-grade domains within this basalt unit, and we're also starting to pick up more mineralisation in the granodiorite. And this is really exciting for immediate extensions to this resource area, which at the moment is about 120,000 ounces at 2.2 grams. Again, we can see that consistent geology as we saw on the northwest margin. So this style of mineralisation is completely open to the north and now to the south. So our priority 2 area was at Achilles, and this is where we're really targeting shallow, high-grade mineralisation. This mineralisation pretty much starts from surface. We can see there hole 507, it's from 3 metres below, basically below the transported cover. This is really unique, something that not a lot of companies have, which is really a bonus for us, and that's unmined areas, shallow mineralisation, hasn't been touched by historic mining or historic exploration, so it's really easy work for us going forward in the development of the project to add oxide feed into our potential resource inventory. So we've done some wide space drilling there. We've now opened that mineralisation up for about 2 kilometres, for about a kilometre, north of the Rosie open pit, and we have to go back now and infill that area to really prove up with a bit of confidence what's there. But we've shown the mineralisation exists, and we're quite happy with where that's going. You can see there zoomed in work we did last year, which was following up on work that Gateway had done earlier in 2019, and that was really just stepping out north of the Rosie open pit. We continued to step north, some big 300 metre space traverses, and hit the style of mineralisation that we were hoping to hit. So again, at Achilles, one of the other things we mentioned earlier is to chase that same structure south of the Rosie open pit, which has really not been done with a lot of success previously. We did some soil geochemistry out there, showed that there was a lot of anomalism. A lot of the drilling was ineffective, so we put a big air core program over that, about 1.5 kilometres south of the pit, and it's still open the whole way down to the southern tenement boundary. And we can see there we've proved up that there's anomalism at in the saprolite zone, all the way down corresponding to these structures as they're interpreted, including some decent grade in the air core, 3 at 6 in a bottom of hole sample. And that now is our second priority area for further extension down towards the tenement boundary, but also to follow up with some RC drilling and see what the bedrock potential is there. But we're pretty excited that whole corridor is one big shear system that's mineralised. Priority 3 is our Kashmir area. It's over on the eastern margin, which has historically never been really explored at the Montague granodiorite. We had a big soil geochemical anomaly out there, gold in soil. It's immediately north of Horizon Gold's Howard's deposit, which is about 200,000 ounces, sitting south of the tenement boundary. No real effective drilling into this area. Geologically, it looked prospective. We went and put 2 1 kilometre space traverses of RC drilling into this area. And you can see those traverses spaced 1 kilometre apart. We hit high-grade mineralisation, 2 metres at 8, 1 metre at 9. In the same structure, the mineralisation looks very similar to what we see on the western side. We're very excited about this because what it does is it opens up that entire eastern corridor, eastern margin of the granodiorite, which has never been really looked at. And we can have some confidence now that yes, the mineralisation does persist on the eastern side. So while that's a bit longer term for us, that's a really exciting prospect for the potential of the whole project. One of the things we did last year and been building on is consolidating our land tenure in the area. You can see there with the Gum Creek Greenstone Belt, we've now got our hand on about 1,000 square k's through various different deals and joint ventures. And you can see there in yellow, that's the Montague granodiorite dome area we've been looking at to date, and really you can see the scope for further exploration we've got in this belt. There's a lot of potential in this belt. has had over a million ounces mined previously. About 1.5 million ounces in resources between ourselves and Horizon Gold already, but hasn't been explored really since the 1980s. And there's huge potential there, and Gateway's in a prime spot to capitalise on it going forward. So what are we going to be doing? So first half of this year, the guys are about to mobilise tomorrow. We'll be getting underway a big RC program, about 15,000 metres of RC and a bit of diamond drilling in there. We're going to be aggressively following up this high-grade mineralisation on the lower zone at northwest margin, putting a lot of drilling up there, a few diamond holes as well to really have a look at this mineralisation. And one of the things we're going to be looking for now is whether there's potential for stacked repeats of this at depth, which is really exciting if that's the case. We're also going to be continuing that systematic RC testing south of the Montague Boulder pit towards the northeast pit there, which is really just building on the work we did last year and following that same geology south. We've got a couple of EIS holes as well that have been a grant got from the state government. We're going to do some stratigraphic drilling around the dome to get some big deep diamond holes into it to have a good look at what's going on from a bigger picture geological point of view, which will help us understanding the system going forward. We've also got another big air core program planned, which will happen further out in the first half. We're going to continue to test that Achilles South corridor towards the tenement boundary, do a bit of scout drilling over the eastern side of the granodiorite contact east of Whistler, and we're also going to test a few soil anomalies that we haven't got to so far, and put some first pass drilling over it, and they're sort of repeats of that area on the northwest margin further out to the west, and that's pretty exciting now with the understanding of the geology that we have that we didn't really have previously. So it's a big half of drilling coming up for us and hopefully a lot of positive news flow coming out of it. So what are the investment takeaways? Well, Gateway's a WA-focused gold company. It's, for gold exploration, it's the best place in the world to be. It's one of Australia's premier gold districts, one of the premier gold districts in the world, really. There's proven endowment in this area. There's had minimal modern exploration going forward, but really we're focusing on shallow mineralisation in three main areas. We've got a new discovery which we made last year, which we're going to be aggressively following up on and hopefully showing the real potential of that whole margin, which is open for over about 3 kilometres. We've got existing resources at Whistler and Montague Boulder, about 240,000 ounces, but there's big potential to grow those beyond that 240,000 ounces. That's just a start. We've got a strong balance sheet, about $6.5 million in cash, no debt. It enables us to do a lot of drilling and really test this whole area. And we've got an experienced and successful management team with a strong track record of doing this and being successful. So thanks for the time, and have a look at our website and we'll keep you all up to date. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mark. A couple of quick questions.
Yep.
How quickly could you define a resource at the northwest margin?
Well, I suppose, Paul, it depends on the scope of what we find there in the end. If it's of the size which we're hoping, which is kilometres of strike, then really we'd have to be pouring a lot of drilling into this thing. Wouldn't be expecting to see much inside of into the second half of this year for a start. We'd have, even if we're going really aggressively, if that turns out to be a pretty big system, it's going to take us a while to drill it, but that's a good thing because it means that it's big. But yeah, we'd be looking at the northwest margin area. We'd be looking, later on this year at some point.
And how long before you think you'd have an overall resource upgrade, including the existing deposits?
Well, we'd be looking to do a minor upgrade of the Montague Boulder resource in this half, based on the drilling we did last year, and that'll just be a bit of a confidence upgrade. It won't be a significant upgrade, but really we'd be hoping that this exploration work we do now enables us to really get a much bigger idea of what's up there, and go to really move the project forward. So again, maybe something smaller first half of this year, but we'd be really looking for major developments in later 2021.
And what do you need in terms of scale? How many ounces would you need, do you think, as a threshold to have a development proposition on your hands? Yeah,
well, we really see, to take a project like this forward in WA, what we're really looking for is, to produce probably about 100,000 ounces a year as a minimum, and really you want something with a minimum of about 7-year mine life. So if you use some of the usual metrics that we do, so you're talking about 700,000 ounces of reserves as a minimum, which, converting back to resources, probably looking at a minimum of about 1 million ounce endowment, and then that enables you to have a good basis to commit to development and push the project forward of something that's actually sustainable and of meaningful size. So that's our main target.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Paul.